What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why the market may temporarily push higher before we see a potential resistance that's going to be a little bit tough to break, and how the market may respond moving forward. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. So in my video yesterday, I mentioned that there's an interesting pattern right here. Yes, SPY looks bullish right now, and we could push a bit higher to new all-time highs for now. But ever since August started, you guys will notice that since August 7th, right, on Thursday, SPY was red. On Friday, August 8th, it was green. And we have this interesting pattern where when we're green on Thursdays, we tend to be pushing a bit more on Fridays, then we turn red. This happened many, many times, right? Green Thursdays, red Fridays, green Thursdays, right? It's been going like back and forth like that. Right here, we have Thursday, August 28th. We had a green Thursday, and then we had a red Friday, right? If you go back to like last week, we were green on Thursday, then red on Friday. So it's a very interesting pattern we were talking about. And I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. Typically, the past rhymes, and sometimes we do see patterns that repeat. So in this case, I do think SPY could still push a bit higher. We could be looking for a new all-time high. As long as we're above 658, we're looking for 660. But as the day goes on, will we see SPY turn back down towards the end of the day and end up closing either flat or a little bit in the red? That's also very possible. So you want to be very, very careful the higher we go. Today at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report and the 5-year inflationary expectations. So expect some volatility 30 minutes after the stock market ends up opening. We'll see what happens with this data. Right now, we are expecting consumer expectations are not the strongest. They're like kind of like decent right now. So we'll see if the Michigan Consumer Sentiment data is good or not at 10 o'clock a.m. So be ready for some volatility. On top of this, there's been some more talk about Jerome Powell getting replaced very soon, possibly by the Treasury Secretary or other individuals. We'll see, though. That's once again to be determined. There's not anything else that's too crazy on the news, at least thus far. On his Truth Social page, President Trump said that just out, no inflation, too late, must lower the rate, big right now. Powell is a total disaster who doesn't have a clue. That's what President Trump is saying about him. He wants to see rates go down. Well, we're gonna get a cut very, very soon. It's just that we don't know if it's going to be 25 basis points or 50. There's a 92% chance it's going to be 25 basis points. There's a 7% chance it's going to be 50 basis points. Besides that, today, September 12th, we have over or close to 250,000 of these puts expiring. And then we have over 643,000 calls expiring for a 2.48 puts to call option ratio. Max pain's at 649, so we're going to see how that ends up going. So as far as SPY is going, I do think that we're going to watch our levels. So if you're bullish, you want to hold above 568. 658. Excuse me, 658. If you hold above that, you're looking for 660 plus. But if you turn down, you want to see us lose 655 to start turning lower. I think we go higher first for 660 or so. And then we're going to see, can we hold above this, or do we get that pattern to repeat again? Because like I said before, ever since the last 6 weeks, when the market is really green on Thursdays, we could go a bit higher on Fridays, then we turn back to red by the end of the day. That happened every time for 6 weeks. So correlation does not mean causation. It's not guaranteed. We do this, but there is a risk based off our pattern that we might pump in the morning, hold up, then maybe slow down by the end of the day and close either flat or red on SPY. It's possible, so just be careful and just keep this in mind. But don't just blindly short the market. Watch for confirmation if we're about to pivot or not. So we'll be watching to see if that ends up happening. For now, in the morning, we look bullish, and we're going to be looking for new all-time highs. On the QQQ, same thing. Now, if we're bearish, you want to see us essentially fail at 582 to dump to 580. But for now, we're going to be favoring 585 and then eventually 587. And then we're going to see if we break out higher or not. If we can't break above 587, we could turn back down to 582. So be very, very careful in case we end up turning. For now, in the morning, look for an attempt to push for 586 and 587 on the QQQ. Then we're going to see if we turn or not off this bearish divergence. On the IWM, we look bullish as long as we don't end up losing 240 to dip back down towards 238. We're going to be favoring 241, then eventually 242.5. And we'll see if we pivot between 242 and 244. Look for some upside on the IWM, then we'll see if you reject back down. ES has a tough resistance at 6,600. If we break that, we could be pushing to the lower 6,600s. And then we're going to see if we kind of like turn down from there or not. So if we lose basically 65.80, we're going to be looking for a dip back down. We're still favoring the low 6,600, so we'll have to see what happens after that. NQ is looking bullish as long as you don't end up losing 23,800. We're favoring 24,100 as our potential target, and we'll see if we pivot or not. For Bitcoin, we're looking bullish as long as you don't lose 113,000. We're going to be favoring 116,000 as our potential resistance. Tesla looks bullish to me. We need to hold above 368. If 368 fails on Tesla, it could be dipping to 365. But as long as 368 holds, as long as we hold this, we're bullish. We're going to be favoring 375 and 378 as our targets. As long as we could hold 368, we're going to be looking more strong on Tesla. Nvidia is consolidating. Are we going to bounce or dip? We could retest 178 to 180. Then we'll see if we reject or not. There is the possibility of a left shoulder, head, and maybe like a right shoulder forming. And then we're going to see if we turn back down on Nvidia to 174 or not. So be patient and be careful, especially if there are semiconductor tariffs coming. Apple's favoring 230, then 232. AMD is favoring 157, then eventually 160 as our potential targets. So it's actually more bullish, at least compared to its counterparts. So it's doing a good job at holding up, and we'll see if that continues or not. But overall, I think it's still doing well. For other tickers out there, we also happen to have Coinbase. Coinbase looks bullish with a nice double bottom as long as we don't lose 319. We're going to be favoring 332 as our potential target. Amazon's looking more bullish. We're going to be favoring 232 if that breaks. Looking for 235. Meta is also holding up decently. We're going to see if this ends up losing 748. If it does, this could be dipping. So I'd be careful with Meta. Unless we hold above 756, we're actually favoring 750 or below. It's showing some weakness. Google, however, is showing some strength. As long as we're above 240, we're going to be favoring 242.5, then 244 to go even higher. Microsoft is also going to be favoring 510 plus, but we need to break 510. We could touch 510. I'm going to see if it breaks or not. If we don't break 510, we could turn back down to 504. But if we do break 510, we're looking for 514. So we'll see how it goes. The VIX is on a downtrend. We're going to see if we dip even more or if we get some kind of bounce. If this does dip more, this could be in correlation with the market pushing higher. So for now, I am bullish. I think SPY and the QQQ break all-time highs and we continue to push temporarily. But be careful by the end of the day, because if we do see a history repeat itself, we might get a sell-off by the end of the day and close kind of flat or even red. So we'll see if that happens or not. Of course, that's what happens historically. Every day since August 7th, when we're green on Thursdays. We had a very green Thursday yesterday, for example. Fridays, typically, we either like push a little higher than reject, or we end up turning red. That happened every time for 6 weeks. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. Thank you all for listening, and peace out.